everyone. Today we're doing a tier list for the soul lane in Smite. Now there's no competitive scene, obviously, so this will be ranked, I would say diamond and below. Ranked diamond and below, here's a tier list. So let's go. Achilles, I mean, he plays the lane well, he has an execute, but you can definitely beat him. He's definitely beatable, definitely gankable. So it's kind of tough. But like, it depends how good, like, if you're against a Khepri, Achilles is S tier. But I don't know. I don't know. I play against Achilles sometimes, and he either stagnates the matchup, beats me by a little bit, or I beat him. I mean, it's kind of whatever, right? You can't really go wrong with this god, but I do think if your jungler, if your jungler is like, if you're against Achilles and your jungler's with you, he's like, they're invading his blue on cooldown and stuff, and like they're ganking him constantly. It's pretty free. A lot of the junglers right now are very good into him. Thanatos, Thor, Susano, they're all really good into him. So that's my main issue with him. Opwash, I wouldn't really consider him a soul laner anymore. He got nerfed pretty hard. So Amma must probably be. It's just because of the gods that are good in the soul lane, in my opinion. I have success on her here and there, but overall, it's a very tough. It's almost always a tough lane unless your lane opponent is silly or your jungler is camping your lane. So it could be a little rough. Her late game is okay. But you usually need some sort of cleanse to make sure you're able to stick to people and stuff. Ao Kuang, I'll probably put in B. He's still sleeper. He's very gankable, super gankable, but he is able to pop off pretty hard with the tank build. It's depressing, but that's just the world we live in. Ares maybe C. It's good to have an Ares on a team, but I don't think it's really worth it. RTO I would only do if like literally everything's banned. Like literally every warrior is banned in the game, and like you just want like a tanky guardian or something, or you go in like a warrior support or something. You can maybe do RTO. I mean, she's not the end of the world or anything. Like maybe in a good matchup means like you're not getting directly if you're not directly countered, it's fine. It's whatever. But yeah, Ares. I mean, his pressure's okay. His soul lane kill potentials. Well, you know, he's a bit like an Ao Kuang in that regard, but you also get a better character for late game. I mean, if Falcon gets super fed, obviously he's better late game, but... Athena... No, I wouldn't play Athena. Atlas, Wheelix, Baba, Bacchus. Bake, obviously S tier. They did nerf him, they finally nerfed him fairly significantly, but, I mean, this character completely dominates the lane for absolutely free. Basic stack based character who always has AoE basic attacks that are all the way around him, not even just like a Bellona 2 or something where it's you know, it's perma good pressure, but it's you know, it has a cooldown on it and stuff. No, Baki just has it all the time, and it's a very very hard to deal with. So, and late game he's just a CC beast. He's just impossible to kill. It feels like hard to gank as well thanks to the ultimate, because you try and crowd on his ultimate, he can literally kill you. Luckily they nerfed the ultimate a little bit, but he can do so much damage to you if you try to crowd around him in his ultimate, and if you can't dive him hard enough, he has the slow on the ultimate as well. That is extremely hard to deal with. So, yeah. Rough. Bellona I would still say is S, probably the back of S at this point, but still super strong in the laning phase. Like, if you're playing Bellona and your jungler's camping your lane, what can't you do? You just completely control the lane for such a significant portion of the game. It's really annoying to deal with. Kabrakan, I don't know. It's been a while since I played him in solo. The Serb I would probably say is C. Good into healers. His clear's good. Like his shred's really good as well if they have two really tanky tanks. I mean, he has his matchups, he has his times when he's good. I just wouldn't rely on it too much. Chaka I would say is probably A, which I hate to say because I hate this god. I think he's so boring, but he is pretty good. Good at avoiding ganks, good at outplaying people, good at making it impossible to fight him like a Bellona. But he can be shut out pretty hard, is the thing. And there's nothing he really directly counters, is all. Charon, really annoying god. Probably ahead of Achilles. Charon's very strong, but I wouldn't say this is his best role, so I'll just put him at like top of A. I think he's an ass character to play against, but yeah, he is good. He is good. Cthulhu... Yeah, I mean, Cthulhu is still there. He is definitely... Like, his rotations are good, though. He has really good rotations. I'll say that about him, but his laning phase is terrible. So if you're against someone who can't clear very well, like Cthulhu himself, it's actually not too bad, but you gotta get lucky. Where are we? Erlong, probably C. I think he boxes better than people give him credit for. I think he's a little better than people think. But on the whole, there's really no reason to play him with the other warriors right now. Oh, I think I missed Kukulkan, didn't I? That's because this god's really boring, but he's fine. I'll put him in like B. Probably ahead of Amma. His laning phase is really decent, does a lot of damage. But again, like an Achilles, he's super gankable, but unlike Achilles, he doesn't have an execute. And his damage doesn't translate quite as well late game. So let me scroll through and make sure I didn't miss anybody. I wouldn't play Fen. Gilga, he's kind of meh. He's kind of meh. It's just because his laning's really bad. I would say maybe better than Erlong, but not like Serb directly counters some things, so I would say Serb is a little bit better. This is kind of just no point to play Gilgamesh in this role. It's not really what he's good at. He's not really a laner. But if they're a little goofy, if they're a little silly, then you can definitely get a good lead. I don't think Guan is quite as bad as people say, but he's definitely not very good. He gets shredded really hard late game, and his early game is absolutely terrible. His good point is like in the mid game, and it's like, what's the point of a mid game warrior? Not really any. So I'll probably put him at the back of here. The thing is, well, there's nothing he really does, though, is the problem. He heals a little bit. That is the only thing he really brings to the table. But the prot shreds is okay. It's really good, like at helping out ganks, because you just shred the enemy's prots for your teammates. So I mean, that's nice. And his rotations are really good as well. I would say with the rotation power, I'd put him like back of here. Erlong maybe a little bit better, because Erlong has more late game carry potential. What about Hades? Hades, he's okay. I'll probably put him just above Guan. Like, he's not terrible. He's really not. But he is a little risky. Very gankable god. And the lifesteal's nowhere near what it was. So he doesn't have quite as much lane dominance. But into good matchups, it can be pretty devastating. And he always brings the ultimate late game. So no problem there in terms of the late game. You just got to make sure you can get there, and it's still solid. Herc is kind of meh. Every time I play Herc, it's so whatever. Like, this god has the pluck, which is great. He has a push, which is solid. And that's kind of all he brings. But it does, in certain matchups, it does work. It just depends who you're against. Maybe like the back here. Maybe like above an Ares. And above Ao. But typically, like, if Amma gets out of the early game, I would say I prefer an Amma on my team. Well, I'll put him, like, there. But then it's like you might as well pick a Colin at that point. Just play someone who's super bully-oriented and can actually fight and, you know, has a good team fight ultimate, stuff like that. That's how I feel about him. Wow, is there really no soul laners in that bracket? Alright, so next up would be Yorm. Yorm, I think, is really solid. He's basically like an Ares, except with more lane domination. So I'll put him maybe here. Because it's a similar issue to Chu, where it's like, oh my god, this lane feels so oppressive, I can't believe how good Chu is. And then you get to late game, and it's not nearly as impactful. But he's still definitely good, and you can run a game with the Yorm for sure. Just like how you can run a game with the Colin, it's just a little bit more work than like running it with Chalk or Bellona or Achilles or something like that. Scroll through so many. King Arthur, he has an okay laning phase, but I actually noticed against like assassin solos, he's actually not that great. He loses pretty hard to them. He's really good against other warriors, and then when he's against anything other than another warrior, he struggles really bad. And he has a terrible Charon matchup. Like, actually, the worst thing I ever experienced was going up against a Charon as King Arthur. Such a pain. But I don't think he's terrible. Probably better than most in this category, so I'll put him maybe up here. Yeah, maybe I put areas like here, because Serb has really good laning, like pretty much every single time you pick him. Ares, he might get knocked out of his flames, and if that happens, then he can't clear. It's pretty bad. It's better than Ao, better than Amma, but worse than Herc, I would say, because I mean Herc brings so much more in a team fight late game, and like King Arthur, you either get your orange ult in time or you don't do anything in a team fight. It's pretty bad. I mean, blue stance ult isn't too bad, but let's keep going. Kuzin, pretty good. I'll put him... Another one like Charon, where it's really hard to lane against him. Like, you basically can't kill him. He can't really kill you, necessarily, unless he, like, pushes you under tower for some reason. But then, like, you just have this beastly Guardian on your side. Basically, like, the best example of, like, Ares and... yeah, like, Ares and Serb and stuff. But better than Charon. I think Charon brings a little bit more flexibility. Like, you can go tank or damage Charon. It really doesn't matter. Like, it just, whatever suits the situation, you can go on Charon. With Kuzin, you're always just going tank, with maybe one damage item. But it is pretty nasty. and his laning is good too. Low. Should I even rank Loki? I will. I will. I would put Loki. He's better than Al. Better than Amma. Brings more to a fight than Arthur. So yeah, I would put him like around here. I hate to do it, but he is actually pretty decent. Hard to gank because he can just hold onto his invisibility forever. He can hold onto his ult forever. He doesn't need to do any of that to like get advantage on you because he just needs to keep on doing. He sees press 2, maybe press 3 on the wave, and it's gone, and that's that. Like the whole wave is it's shocked. It's gone. So and he just does that for the rest of the time. He's good at securing his own blue, stuff like that. Like the clear just gets absurdly good, and you can't really do much. I forgot about Lance. Lance is like okay. I don't really know why you'd pick him though. So I put him in like the pick him if you like him, but I don't think he's that good category. Better than Gilg, better than Ares. And like on par with Serb, I would say. Wow, not a lot of high tier characters yet. Oh, Horus. Where would I put Horus? Yeah, his solo lane's not that great right now. He's mostly a support. But I would say he's like better than Guan. Like there. There sounds good to me. I mean, he still has like insane damage early. It's just it doesn't matter quite as much right now. So, yeah. Like he can try and force the kill. But most people won't fall for that anymore. Most people are aware of how much he does early, and they just won't fight you. And then your totem clears really, really bad. You basically just have to ask them, hey, kid, can I do damage to you, please? And then, you know, sometimes they oblige and you win the lane. Other times they just wait you out and then you just lose the lane after that. Mulan's solid, though. I think she's, like, on tier with Herc. On par with Herc, because she's still... Herc actually gets bullied out sometimes. Mulan is really hard to bully out. Because she gets the passive leveling stuff on her 2 for free. And once her 2 gets to, what is it, rank 2? Rank 2 of the passive, it's pretty nice. It gives her really good lane clear, really good lane control, and she can actually just fight whoever really with that equipped. It's hard. It's difficult to try and like directly counter her, kind of like Nike, where Nike's just like a super safe pick. But the ultimate is really good late game. I would say Chalk has a little bit more control though. But that said, I think Nike does more than like a Kukulkan late game though, with that ultimate and with the knockup on her leap as well. I think the knockup on her leap is underrated. It's actually a very, very good CC. Should I count the Mannequin's Maui build? No, I don't think I will. But that was painful to play against. I did play against him once. Odin. Odin's tough. I don't know where I'd put Odin. Because like he's good, but he's also not. It's like a Hercules. Yeah, I would say it's like a Hercules situation. Where, but Herc has a little bit better with the pluck and the push. If you're able to get that loop going in the late game, I would say it's a little bit better. But yeah, Odin, he just gets bullied out sometimes, you know, and there's nothing he can do. If you're in a really good matchup where you can't get knocked out of your 3, you can't have your shield immediately pushed away. I mean, it can feel pretty good. You can feel pretty oppressive. Just not every single game is all. Yeah, these would be like the lane bullies that would. Are they like these guys? Nua, I think, is actually okay. Probably better than Cthulhu and Cabrakan. Maybe not better than RTO. You gotta get lucky, though. You gotta not get ganked. Because if you get ganked, you're just gonna die. But her laning is super safe. It's hard to kill her. Because if she uses all of her range all the time, it's very hard to kill her. So you gotta have you have to not be against a dive warrior, and you gotta not have a dive jungler against you. But if those two things are met, I mean, it's actually kind of free. You just power farm until late game, and then you just swing in the late game really hard, because you can get every single item you want. And her blue clear is actually pretty good as well. Osiris, yeah, probably above Bologna at this point, I would say. I love this character. I think he's really, really great. I miss almost every single one I do, but I still pop off. It's great. Very versatile in terms of builds as well. You can build whatever kind of item you want, really. Just make sure you get Phalanx online, make sure you get Xe or Kins online, and then like you build whatever you want. It's fine. You can go crazy attack speed. You can build almost no attack speed, but still have it be fine. So yeah. A really solid character. Does have some issues against like disarms, like against Bologna and stuff, and against like a tier who can just wait you out and stuff, and just like make you not play your game of pushing the wave away and like standing off of it for free. That can be a pain. But typically speaking, I would say he's up here. Bologna does have a little bit better lane control, but Osiris' late game is a little nicer because of the mitigations, so you can truly be tanky. Because that's what it takes, is mitigations, to be really tanky. I wouldn't really count too many of the mages. maybe the mages I would put under like most of the mages are like they gotta be in a good matchup. So I don't know if it's worth putting them. Raven's pretty good though. Raven I'll put like with Loki, where it's sometimes you actually can't do your thing, but other times you just like smack your abilities on the wave. You get a huge shield, and you're like, hey, hi, you can't fight me now, bye. And then he can gank really effectively. Like if he's solo laning and he gets a gank, he can gank really well with the ultimate, and he can all in really well with the ultimate as well if he's in a good matchup. He's pretty good bully, I would say, but he doesn't bring like the straight up counters. Like Odin's just straight up counter to healers. He doesn't have something as effective as like Herc pull late game if you're good with your Herc pulls. He just has a lot of damage and a lot of lane control. And he's pretty safe too because the ultimate is a pretty good get out of jail free card. You don't need you to use your 2 to fight necessarily either, so that's a big plus. Would I play Pele solo? Probably not. She's probably not terrible in solo. Shiva, I mean, he does so much damage. It's actually criminal how much damage this god does. And his ultimate isn't bad for a majority of the game. It's just in the hyper late game where it's really bad. But you know, you use all of your abilities and then you just ult. I mean, it's not that bad. And the heal is very good. The heal is very effective on this god. So I would say he's like on par with Herc, but a little bit worse. Because Herc, I mean, does a lot of damage late game, but it's not really that effective either. But I would say Herc pull and push are better than Shiva's knock up and pull, even though it is effective. And the absorb stacks, it does actually come up a decent amount, but now that we're getting more to like the attack speed meta rather than a crit meta, the absorb stacks aren't as effective. Would I go Geb solo? Actually, I might. I would prefer him over like a Kabrakan, but like on par with a Nuwa, where it's gotta be the right matchup for sure. But if you hit that late game, if you have like 1 or 2 damage items on Geb, it's actually kind of criminal how much damage he does. So he actually does bring a decent amount to the table there. Sobek solo, yeah, it's like on par with RTO. Like, I wouldn't love to see that, but I wouldn't mind it either. It's not that bad. But he does get pressured out early, which is unfortunate. Wukong, I think, is actually S tier. I actually think this god might be S tier. Well, you know, if I put him in S, then I think I need to move some of these gods up, which I don't think I'll do. I'll put him, like, here. Yeah, I would put him above Kuzenbo, but below Charon. Very similar thing to Charon, where you have, like, a lot of counters to a lot of different things. Like, attack speed slow, Wukong's got it. You need something to interrupt with, Wukong's got the stun or the knock-up. I mean, it's pretty nice. He is pretty nice, but Charon does have the range basic attacks, a little bit more damage, better late game ultimate, but Wukong's dive is absolutely incredible. It's very similar to a Chalk, with a little bit less lane domination, but a little bit better late game, because the dive, Wukong can dive for so long. It's a very nice feature of his. He does a lot of damage too, and like Osiris, super versatile builds, so I like him a lot. Surtur, probably S, yeah. Probably the best of the ability gods. Maybe better than Bellona. I would say better than Bellona. Extremely good burst. Great for shutting down squishies. Yeah, he's just fantastic in lane, fantastic in mid and late game as well. Especially late game once you get all of your burst items online. I mean, he seriously one-shots like an assassin, but he's super tanky. It feels a little unfair sometimes, but yeah, Surtur super strong. He just needs to not get. I see some Surturs. I go against some Surturs who get ahead of themselves and they just suicide really bad, and then they can't do what they want to do because they can't get their build online, because they're all about getting those 1 stacks, all about getting the items online to do the burst combo. So it's pretty rough if he gets put behind. Like if you get put behind on Osiris too, it's not great. Bellona, not great. But at least those characters have certain things like the healing shutdown with Osiris, the ultimate with Bellona, the disarm with Bellona. They have a few tools where Surtur might be like, oh, I'm behind and I can't do anything now. But his damage is so great that you know you can actually power through it if you don't get too far behind. Thor has been okay. I'll probably put him in like this category of the you know, if you get going, it's really good for a while. But I would put him a little bit higher, probably like with a Yorm, because it's actually the opposite of Yorm and Kukulkan, where it's like his laning is actually pretty bad. Because he has to hammer every single wave, and you know, against some matchups, like against these top tier matchups, against like Surtur, Osiris, Bellona, you hammer in front of them, you're not getting away without losing at least like 30% of your health, because they just jump you immediately. Even if you wall them off, they usually have ways to like if they're playing it right, they're not just like using their range immediately on you. They're gonna chase you down with the range after you try and wall them off. It can be really difficult, honestly. But if you get going, he is very solid. But it's just better to play that god in jungle, to be honest. Tier is so annoying. I'd put him in A-ish. You're probably like on tier with Achilles. painful, painful god to play against. Ugh, so much damage, so much healing, doesn't die, and extremely difficult to gank. I mean, you got to put this guy behind extremely early, or else he's just gonna run the lane. It's pain. It's pure pain. And I would say Tier Fearless and his stun ultimate, I would say it's better than Chalk. And I would say he runs the lane just as well as Chalk can. Obviously, if you're against a basic attack based character, Chalk's going to be a little better because he has his 3, but the attack speed's low on it. But on the whole, still, like, Tier just, it's rancid what this character does in lane. It's so painful. It's to the point where I think I would maybe put him above Achilles, because he execute Achilles again. If you're against Khepri, yeah, Achilles is better. But most matches I would say Tier would be better. It's just it's so awful to play against. You just can never solo this guy ever. Like if you don't solo a Tier, if you solo a Tier pre first item, that can happen. If you solo him after he gets his first item, teach me your ways. I don't understand how you're supposed to kill that god ever. Or like chase him down and try and deny him farm, because you just like you use your knockup immunities, like you pick Nike into him. That's fair. But Nike is the only character that comes to mind really that can actually stop him from doing this. Like maybe Guan. Yeah, let me pick Guan real quick. That sounds like a great idea. Vamana, I would say he's still okay. He definitely fell out of favor though. After these most recent nerfs, I would say he's below Nike, like at the bottom of this tier. I think people are understanding him a little bit because he is still Vamana. He can still do his thing. Phalanx is still extremely good. So, and the attack speed shutdown is very good as well on his 3, because you're not going to miss your 3 on Vamana, at least not the first part of it. Like it's extremely good for shutting down basic attackers, but if he's against an ability-based character, it becomes a little more difficult. And it's not like Tier where you like, guaranteed push someone away. Like you have to kind of work sometimes to get your Ramana 1 off on somebody and have them not like interrupted on you. So it is a little matchup dependent in that regard, like who can actually stop his dash. All right, let me go over this again. I actually see one that I want to include, Xingqian. Xingqian's good. I'd put him maybe like here below King Arthur. Because it's actually a little different, because he's also very bad into ranged matchups like King Arthur, but his late game's better for sure. But his laning isn't nearly as dominant. But he shuts down ADCs really well with the most recent buff to his 1, so I appreciate that. And Suk, I would put him like here maybe, better than Guan probably, but don't love that god in solo. Same with Susano. Above Guan, but not by much. Alright, so let me give it one once over. Oh, Zotz, yeah. I forgot about Zotz. Kama, I mean, he's a better jungler, for sure. I'll put him, like, here, maybe. Yeah, he can't always get the laning phase going, because if he dies early, it's very, very bad. Like, if they see they have Kama solo, and your jungler just ganks level 2 and kills him, it can be a pretty free lane. There's not much you can do. But once he gets his items online, he's such a menace. He is a real menace late game. So I'll put him maybe above King Arthur, but I think Loki controls the lane much better in most situations. Oh, yeah, Kleena. Kleena's good, too. Probably controls it better than Loki, but Loki's more infuriating. And he survives ganks a little bit better. So I'll put him like, well, now I'm just like grouping all these assassins together. Look at that. They're a little family. It's so cute. I'll probably put Robin over Odin. Yeah, Cleo in general, I would say is a little bit better. No, I would say Loki. I would say Loki's better. Maybe he's more up here. Uller's okay. Uller's probably the one hunter I would consider, because his range is great. His CC on the 1 is really solid. As long as you hit your axe and you use it on the correct ability, generally speaking, that's good enough to make warriors not able to dive you. But it is a little bit of a risk. I would put him like on tier without Kwong. If you're a really, really good Uller, I would say he's better than Ao. But Ao is a little more brain dead, because you survive the early game as Ao, and then you can just start fighting your lane opponent and killing them. A lot like an Uller in that regard. Okay. I think that's about it for the solo lane tier list, fellas. What do you guys think? Do you love it? Do you hate it? What would you change about it? And let me know in the comments. And thank you for watching.